I think that a lot of things that Jay has been requesting that they are going to give to him. And I think he wants to be here. I do agree with him. I do believe him, when he says when he grew up, this is the place that he wanted to be. It's tough to sell. Now, look, opportunities and money are a crazy thing. But he did say, and in so many words, said that he is not leaving. He also was asked about Paul Mainieri. And in those conversations, Jay said that, look, Paul called him last night, that he was very grateful to what Paul had done for him and kind of transferring power and the reins over, and that he was grateful, and he never had really thought about competing against Paul. Well, it was announced today and official today that Coach Mainieri is going to be the next head coach of South Carolina. They're keeping Monty Lee there on staff. Terry Rooney was announced, and the third assistant, I forget his name off the top of my head, from Virginia. I don't know how y'all felt, but Jay, it kind of felt like Jay congratulated him, said that he still is a highly competitive person and that he wanted back in the game, and he has every right to do that. They're going to face off next year, and I think it's going to be one of the more crazy weekends that we've had in baseball because Paul will be in the other dugout. He doesn't look good in red, meaning Coach Mainieri. Look, it just continues to go down the path in reference to, I don't think Paul wanted to be out. I don't think he wanted to be out as LSU's head coach. I think when the opportunities presented himself, Notre Dame, Miami, whatever, he would have gone there if it was the right opportunity for him. He didn't. And when South Carolina came up, the opportunity came up, he took it. And Paul, more than being hired today, had a massive win. And what appears that Ethan Petrie is going to be staying in South Carolina. So Jay did touch on that. The biggest news in that is that, look, I'm not – coaches are weird when it comes to coaching carousel, what they do give you, what they don't give you. He did say that the first person he would talk to would be Scott Woodward. Smart. And he said, it's in my contract to talk to Scott Woodward if they talk to me. And they hadn't. Okay. I don't know if I believe that that Jay may have not talked to Texas. I would assume that his agent has. Jay didn't say that they didn't reach out to my agent. He said, I have not talked to them. When they say that, he's not lying. But I just, like I said yesterday, it's hard for me to believe. And if he does, I will backtrack and say that I was wrong, but they're just the things that I'm hearing at the current moment. He's just not going to go anywhere. I'm glad that it was addressed. I'm glad that it was brought up. I'm glad that he ended it. At least I think that he ended it. It felt like he ended it. So I'm glad that he did that today. But there were three big points that I thought Jay talked about going into next year and talking about his 2025 team that I think that, look, you can't walk away from the press conference today and not take these three out. These are in no specific order. They're in, like you're going to say, well, Blake thought that this was the biggest. It doesn't matter. It's just the way that everything flowed. And I wrote everything down in what he said. The first thing that I thought that Jay brought up was in reference to Griffin Herring and the starting pitching. Obviously, he said that Griffin Herring's not only one of the best pitchers that he had last year, he's one of the best pitchers that he's had as a head coach, and that he would 100% be a weekend rotation guy going into next year. He added on to that about Chase Shores being up to 97 miles an hour and also having a really good slider that him and Nate Yeske had been working on. It's interesting because I don't know what happens with Griffin Herring, who is a draft-eligible sophomore. How highly or up those boards is he? Does he want to come back and get himself firmly into that first round? But I do think if you are able to hold on to Griffin Herring, if Chase Shores does come back to where he was as a freshman, guys, you potentially do have a Friday, Saturday night guy in those or guys in those two right there. Are there other guys that you potentially need to go get? 100%. And I'm not saying that you don't. Not saying at all that you don't. But if things do go LSU's way, and if Griffin does want to come back and Chase Shores comes back, guys, you do have some really good arms that you can go into next year. It might be, I don't know how I want to say this other than it might be a little bit of a pipe dream to think that Griffin Herring could come back. I don't know. I don't know where he's going to get drafted. I don't know the money that's going to be put in front of him. But what I do know is that Jay Johnson, the passion that he had about Griffin Herring today, you cannot convince me, because Jay is, very calm in press conferences. If you watch him enough, and I know that a lot of you do, when he gets fired up, when he's that passionate about something or someone, he's going to go balls to the wall in reference to keeping a guy here if they're not in the top 50 picks, which he also brought up. Look, if Griffin Herring's in the top 50 picks, he's going to get a lot of money. That he is going to, in his words, he says, I'm going to be an ambassador for them to get to the next level if they're that highly drafted. I don't know if Griffin is. And if he's not, then you get to a place in a situation where, guys, you're going to, from a talent basis alone, pure talent, let's just, for hypothetical sake, say that Griffin Herring can come in and be a Friday night guy. Is Chase Shores a guy that you can work back into? I mean, guys, people that throw consistently 97, 98 after having Tommy John and working on a really good slider, where will Chase Shores be? Do I think you need to add some more arms? Yeah. I think it's a good place and cornerstone and foundation to build off of if you're able to keep that here. Everything is going to dictate itself after the draft. Where guys go, where guys stay. That's when you're going to make your ultimate decision about how you build your team and roster. We're very early in this process of if guys are going to go, if guys are going to stay. But I feel the conviction in the tone that Jay used today, the confidence of the cornerstone of those two guys in a potential return. To add on to that, Jay's comment in reference to, Griffin Herring being one of the best pitchers that he's ever had is a very big statement. A very big statement. Guys, you realize that he's putting him in a pedestal with guys like Ty Floyd. He's putting him in a pedestal of guys not like Paul Skeens, but he's in that top 5. When you say he's one of the best pitchers I've ever coached, guys, that's very big. Can LSU be competitive with NIL? I think that if there's one player Jay really wants to return, is it Griffin Herring? Guys, I really feel that. I feel that conviction. It's going to be interesting. I don't know. And I will be the first to tell you that I don't know. The draft is a very weird thing. You know, a guy could in the second round can make more money than, or a guy in the third round can make more money than a guy in the second round. I think it's all backwards. Okay, but we'll see. I think the second thing that Jay mentioned, which is probably the most crucial thing that he said today, was in reference to how he's got to build his team. Now, I'm going to paraphrase because I'm not going to give an in-out quote, but Jay said, look, I prided myself on building programs from the ground up. And what he means by that, freshman classes, even just going in the portal a little bit, but building classes up, having talent upon talent, like what Saban used to do, what Urban used to do, and what Kirby's currently doing, and putting it in football context. Today, I could feel the stress from Jay Johnson because he said, look, there's a potential that I'm going to have 5 guys drafted. There's a potential I'm going to have 11 guys drafted. By the way, I had 13 last year. You have a roster of 25. And the biggest statement that he made was that, guys, I'm just going to have to build a roster year upon year and go that route. That's the new age that we're in. And Jay going into the portal the way that he is, and even with the news that we'll talk about that he got today from Luis Hernandez, is a very big deal. But it's the reality of where college baseball is. It's the sport where I do think that the portal is the most entertaining of any sport. I also think it could be the most stressful because Jay has no idea. Like in football, you have a pretty good idea of the guys that are going to be leaving you and that you got to battle for. In baseball, you have no clue. And really and truthfully, even of the age, guys, Griffin Herring is a draft-eligible sophomore. Bear Jones is a draft-eligible sophomore. Those are two big-time cornerstone pieces that if this were a football team, you would legitimately have them back next year because it's a 3-year window. Does Bear Jones return? Does Griffin Herring return? Does Michael Braswell return? There are a lot of things that are up in the air. But I agree with him. I don't know how you don't go into a season not saying to yourself, we got to build it for this year and this year alone. Now, what happened is fans said, oh, well, he's not building for the future. Guys, that's complete horseshit. He is. He's going to continue to build through high school recruiting. What he's saying is, guys, if I have 15 people consistently leaving me, or I say 15, but with the portal and active departures that he will have, and not only those departures, but guys that get drafted, you could have 2/3 of your roster that gets turned over in a blink of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. And that is very difficult. Guys, the roster is going to be turned. I think the roster will be completely turned over at least at minimum by half from the portal and guys that will get drafted. There's a strong possibility that nobody in your starting rotation this year, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, will be there. And I don't know what Thatcher Hurd's going to do. I think that he comes back. But I don't know. Does he want to make a move? I don't know. But the biggest thing is talking about, I got to build it for a 1-year run. What Jay is really saying is, and the way that I felt was pretty simple. I think he's about to go out here and destroy the portal. I think he's told guys to leave that he don't think they can play here. I think he's told guys that, look, man, if you're going to come back, you have nothing guaranteed to you because we have guys like Ashton Larson and Jake Brown, and he's warning them in the media today. When he's warning his entire outfield. I mean, him talking about Jake Brown only scratching the surface in center field the night before Paxton Kling hits the portal, do you really think that conversation wasn't had? That he would not play here? He would not start here anymore because Jake Brown has arrived? Yeah. Yes. 100%. I felt the stress and I felt the realness of him hitting the portal, which clearly he did. And we'll talk about that in a minute. The third thing that Jay mentioned in today's press conference that I thought was interesting, or a third note. And I don't even know if this is going to go over. Maybe I misinterpreted it, and this is, I don't know. It could have been tied into the first thing we said, I guess. But Jay Johnson, when asked about this place, in talking about the regional and talking about North Carolina, guys, can you convince me that there's anybody more passionate right now than him? That has more fire in their belly than him? Jay was asked today about the regional in not so many words. And he said, look, man, I will never forget what happened in North Carolina. I'll never forget how you had freshmen stepping up the way that they did. I think it kills him that he didn't compete for a super regional. I think it kills him. I've seen some chatter out there in reference to hey, what's the realistic nature about the 3 years that Jay has been here? Guys, I think it's been completely more than fine. I think it's been pretty freaking good. Borderline great. Now, the 2 regional appearances, I get what people are saying, but I think that he is going to build something great here. And Jay has never met with the media this long, and I think that he wanted to hit on a lot of points. Him being at LSU, I think, was the massive one. So, look, when somebody is that hurt, okay, about it, and ultimately it was the decision he made. And the comment that he made was, guys, we're 2 outs away from hosting a super regional in the box. I could tell in his face that killed him. It busted him up to know that they were 2 outs away from being back to a super regional. And not only a super regional, but being in a super regional in the box. You know, in year 1, Jay was 17-13 in conference. Georgia was 17-13 in the conference this year and hosted a regional and super regional. So not hosting a regional in year 1, which Paul Mainieri left him no ace, left him no guys in the weekend rotation to start on Friday. Guys, Mikal Hilliard was your best starter. Ty Floyd was on that team, but Ty was still very young. Shoved against Southern Miss, though. Look, man, I think that Jay is showing how much he wants to be here. And I think that that's something that we take for granted. I think that that's something that we overlook. I think that that's something that, you know, for whatever reason, and this is the point that I want to get to, for whatever reason, I think Jay has taken some unfair criticism. Honestly, I think that people have told Jay what they think he needs to be doing because they coach their son's t-ball team or you coach a softball team. Guys, this year was not a bad year. Like I told you, if they would have gotten to a super regional or if they would have won the regional in Chapel Hill, everything else beyond that, for me, with this team, would have been lanyard. You can't replace that many guys and not have some bumps in the road. The fact that they went 3-12 in conference and turned everything around and got to a regional is a hell of a job. So you got to give them that. All right. Jay also got some big news. Let's talk about some baseball portal news here for just a quick second. So last night we talked about Paxton Kling and Paxton hitting the portal. We put it on our message board yesterday about 3 o'clock. I put it out there and said, basically on our forum, don't be surprised if Paxton Kling hits the portal. I'm hearing some things. I'm waiting for him to officially go in, but I feel pretty confident that Paxton was going into the portal. Here's what I know about him. Look, I don't think it shocks anybody that he entered the portal because of, look, he was somebody that a lot of people thought could replace Dylan Cruz. He's highly athletic. He was a really good defender. Got a lot of speed. It just didn't go that way for him. And I think he got beat out by a freshman in Jake Brown. And I don't think he was going to play here. I don't know if he needs to go to a lower conference. And not only a lower conference, maybe a mid-major. Because guys, the ACC is not a joke in baseball. Right? Like, guys, the SEC has 4 teams in Omaha. The ACC has 4. Like, that's not a joke. But I do think he's got to go to a mid-major. I think that he has a lot of ability and he has a lot of tools. He's a highly athletic kid. I like him a lot. I think he's a really good kid. I don't think that there's any coach that has been around Paxton Kling the last 2 years who wouldn't tell you that he's a great teammate. They wouldn't tell you that they would tell you just how great of a locker room guy that he is. I just don't think he can play here. And then that conversation was had. So today it was announced officially that he had entered the portal. Not surprising. Like I mentioned yesterday, we put it on the forum. You need to get over there. You need to get over to the message board, ayssnetwork.com/forum. I hate it, and it stinks because when you have to live up to the legacy of a guy like Dylan Cruz and you fall the way that he did, you were relying on him. You were relying on him. Guys, he was the opening day start. He was not only an opening day starter, he was the opening leadoff guy. And it just did not go well for him. And I thought he had a decent fall. Didn't have a good fall, had a decent fall, but spring rolls around and he couldn't get anything going. And that's why he got replaced. And he's not more talented than the guys in that outfield and on your roster right now. He's not more talented than guys that you have coming in. Because there is a potential that your outfield now, hold on for just a quick moment. There are guys that are going to be coming in, not only from the high school ranks, but they're going to be guys that are coming in from the portal. And Jay's going to mismatch things. He's going to, definitely go through the fall and see what works. But, guys, right now, I think Josh Pearson returns. I think that Jake Brown clearly and obviously he is going to be returning, and Ashton Larson. So that in and of itself, guys, you have those three positions locked down, and there's not one of them that Paxton Kling can take from any of them. Not one. And a lot of people, I've seen a lot of Josh Pearson slander. I get it. He doesn't, it is what it is. Paxton Kling can't start over him. And I think what you would have want to happen is that he would have. That Paxton, it would have been Jake Brown, Ashton Larson, and Paxton Kling. Other than Kling, though, I don't know if it's over with in reference to guys hitting the portal from LSU. I have not heard anything on Ethan Fry. I've had more people ask me about Ethan Fry than any other player on LSU's roster. I'm going to tell you at this current moment, I don't know. But there is somebody that I do know. And I put this on the forum today. You need to go over there and read it. I think and have heard that this situation with Brady Neal has become very intriguing. I would not be shocked if he stays. I might be a little shocked. Not shocked. I don't know the right word. I wouldn't be shocked if he stays. I would understand if he stays. I would not be shocked if he hit the portal. Not even remotely close. So I guess we wait for Brady Neal. And I think that one's going to be interesting. Now, you do have a pair of catchers that are going to be coming in from the high school ranks to LSU. Hopefully none of those guys get drafted and want to go. You also have Blaze Priester, who is going to be coming in from JUCO, who was a JUCO All-American. Was announced today that Priester, who hit 20-plus home runs, I think 69 RBIs last year in JUCO, is going to be coming back to LSU as well. I just don't think that Brady Neal, I don't know if he will be back here. So you might have a potential where you had three catchers last year, two of them at minimum were in your everyday lineup with Travinsky DHing, to having a complete overhaul at that position. I want to admit something. I don't know if you've had in the last 2 years specifically, I don't think that you've had an overall good catcher like the kid that's at Kentucky. The catcher for Kentucky is an all-around great player. I don't know if you have that guy right now that's coming in, but we'll talk about one potentially in just a moment. Guys, I got to be honest with you. I don't think it's a big blow if Brady Neal does leave.